Next, on the bald lucky farmer, the trampled radishes.
A goblin king. Here. Impossible.
Gareth, who had just gotten to his feet, scrambles backward, his face pale with genuine terror. All his aristocratic bravado vanishes in an instant. The Goblin King smashes a cottage with a single swing of its club, laughing as splinters fly. Its eyes, full of malicious glee, scan the panicking villagers. It spots Mira, frozen in indecision between running and trying to protect Taro.
Taro, run! Get out of here!
Mira shoves Taro behind her, planting her feet and raising her hands. A small sphere of shimmering water forms between her palms. It's a brave, but ultimately pathetic, display against such a foe. The Goblin King bellows, charging forward. It swings its club in a wide, contemptuous arc. The blow is not aimed to kill, but to swat Mira aside like a bothersome fly. The club connects, sending Mira flying. She crashes into a wooden cart, which shatters under the impact. The monster continues its rampage, stomping through the village square and, with a final devastating series of steps, tramples directly through Taro's perfectly tended radish patch. The prize-winning radishes, the product of months of lazy but careful work, are obliterated, smashed into the dirt, ruined. For the first time all day, a flicker of genuine emotion appears on Taro's face. Annoyance. Taro lets out a long, weary sigh. It is the sound of a man who has calculated the effort of replanting an entire field of radishes and found it to be greater than the effort of removing one giant pest. Taro lets out a long, weary sigh. It is the sound of a man who has calculated the effort of replanting an entire field of radishes and found it to be greater than the effort of removing one giant pest. He stoops down, not with urgency, but with the lazy motion of a farmer picking up a tool he's used 1,000 times. He grips his simple, dirt-caked farming hoe. Then, he begins to walk toward the Goblin King. Mira, struggling to sit up amidst the wreckage of the cart, sees him. Her eyes widen in pure terror.
Taro, no. What are you doing? Run away, you idiot. It will kill you.
Gareth, who was cowering behind a toppled fruit stand, peers over and stares in disbelief.
Is he mad? He's walking toward it with a gardening tool?
The Goblin King, having finished its destructive laugh, turns its attention to the single, bald figure walking calmly towards it. It seems confused. It tilts its massive head, its tiny, cruel eyes narrowing. Taro stops about 50 feet away, holding up his hoe. He points with it, first at the monster, then at the ruined patch of dirt that was once his prized garden. His face is a mask of profound annoyance.
You made a mess. Now I have to fix it. What a pain.
From a safe distance, hidden behind a building, Professor Aldwin watches the scene unfold, a rare, genuine smile on his face.
The debate is over. He has made a choice.
The Goblin King seems to understand the gesture, if not the words. It lets out a deafening roar of fury, insulted by the sheer audacity of this tiny, manaless creature. It raises its enormous club high above its head, preparing a blow meant to pulverize not just Taro, but the very ground he stands on. Next, on the bald lucky farmer, a farmer's annoyance. The shadow of the descending club falls over Taro. He doesn't flinch. He just looks up, as if mildly irritated by the sun being blocked. Taro lets out a wide, jaw-cracking yawn. As the massive club of the Goblin King descends with enough force to shatter stone, Taro reflexively swats his farming hoe at it, the way one might dismiss a particularly persistent horsefly.
So loud. Go away.
At that exact microsecond, a loose shingle from the roof of a nearby cottage slips and falls, striking a discarded metal frying pan that flies upward and wedges into the Goblin King's crown. A freak lightning bolt strikes the crown, and the massive club, redirected by Taro's swat and the monster's own vibrating body, slams into the ground, hitting a hidden, pressurized underground spring. A geyser of high-pressure water erupts.
Taro, move.
The geyser blasts the electrified Goblin King into the air. It lands squarely on a pile of its own discarded iron shards, pinned and whimpering like an oversized green pincushion. Taro doesn't even look back at the trapped monster. He just stares at the hole in his radish field where the geyser erupted.
Great. Now there's a hole, and it's wet.
This is impossible. No one defeats a Ranka beast with a yawn. He didn't even use a spell. There was no mana. None.
Mira limps over, leaning on a piece of the broken cart, her jaw nearly touching the mud.
Taro, I think you just accidentally saved the village.
I just wanted it to stop being noisy. My radishes are still flat. Helping people is a lot of work.
Next, on the bald lucky farmer, the lazy legend. Professor Aldwin emerges from the shadows of a nearby tavern, clapping his hands slowly. The sound echoes in the now silent square.
Precise, efficient, and utterly devoid of intent. You didn't fight the monster, Taro. You simply made the universe find its presence inconvenient.
Taro looks at the professor, then at his muddy hoe.
Can you use that universe thing to replant my radishes? If not, you're just making more noise.
Professor, please, look at him. He's just a farmer. He's going to get himself killed if people start thinking he's a hero.
My dear Mira, I think the world has already decided what Taro Tanaka is. Whether he wants to be part of the story or not, the pages are turning.
Taro looks down at the geyser, which is currently soaking his favorite pair of work trousers. He sighs, the sound heavy with the weight of a man who just wants to be dry and horizontal.
This water is annoying. It's making the dirt all mushy.
Mira hobbles forward, waving her arms frantically.
Taro, wait. Don't just stand there. The pressure is building. You need to...
Taro doesn't wait. He lifts one mud-caked boot and presses it firmly over the center of the erupting geyser, as if he's stepping on a bothersome bug.
Problem solved.
Taro, you idiot. You can't just plug a high-pressure magical spring with your foot. You'll be launched into the stratosphere.
Let him. Let the fool be the first farmer to reach the moon. It's the only way his talent makes sense.
The ground beneath Taro's foot begins to rumble violently. His leg shakes from the pressure, but instead of exploding upward, the sound of a mechanical click echoes from deep underground. The water stops instantly. 100 yards away, in the center of the village square, the ancient, dried-up fountain of the first king suddenly coughs, sputters, and begins to flow with crystal clear, glowing blue water for the first time in 3 centuries.
Fascinating. By applying pressure to the secondary vein, you've cleared the blockage in the ley line irrigation system. You've restored the village's sacred water source.
Taro keeps his foot planted, looking disappointed that he still has to stand up.
Is it gone? My foot is getting cold.
Professor, stop encouraging him. Look at his face. He has no idea what he's doing. He's going to accidentally stumble into a dragon's den because he's looking for a shaded spot to pee.
But that is the beauty of it, Mirastella. The dragon would likely choke on a gold coin the moment he arrived.
Gareth marches over, his face twitching with a mixture of awe and pure, unadulterated salt.
I spent 4 years and 3,000 gold pieces on Hydromancy 101 to learn how to douse a campfire. And he fixes a legendary artifact by stepping on it?
Can I go now? My radishes are still flat and now I have a wet sock. This hero business is a terrible job. No benefits. Too much standing.
It's not a job, Taro. it's a target on your back. Once the royal knights hear a farmer defeated a goblin king and fixed the sacred fountain, they'll come for you.
I'll just tell them I'm busy.
I'm afraid busy won't suffice, Taro. Look,
The professor points toward the village entrance. A messenger on a white horse wearing the royal crest is already galloping toward the square, holding a scroll with a golden seal.
What a pain. Maybe if I close my eyes, he'll think I'm a statue.
Taro turns his back on the approaching dust cloud, his shoulders slumped with the weight of impending social interaction. He begins a slow, shuffling trek toward the dense tree line of the whispering woods, hoping the shadows will swallow his shiny head.
If I'm behind a tree, I don't exist. That makes sense.
Taro, where are you going? You can't just walk into the woods. Usually there are wolves, but they'd probably trip over a root and knock themselves out if you're around.
Look at him. The hero of Green Valley is fleeing like a common criminal, probably because he knows his magic is just a series of fraudulent coincidences.
Taro doesn't look back. He reaches the edge of the forest, eyes fixed on a particularly thick oak tree. Just as he prepares to vanish, his wet sock slips inside his boot. He stumbles, his foot catching on a protruding vine.
Not again.
As Taro falls forward, his hand reaches out to steady himself, accidentally grabbing a hidden lever camouflaged by moss. With a grinding sound, a concealed pit trap, presumably set by the now defeated goblins, springs shut exactly as the royal messenger skids to a halt right where Taro would have been standing. The royal messenger leaps from his horse, dropping to one knee before the hiding farmer.
I seek the great sage of the soil, the one who conquers kings with a yawn.
Taro is currently face down in the moss, his hand still stuck on the lever.
I'm just a tree. Go away, Birdman.
He's not a sage, he's just Taro, and he's trying to take a nap.
My lord, the capital is under siege by the Shadow Blight. The king's seen the golden light of your bee strike from the palace towers. He has sent me to summon the Bald Avenger to save our realm.
Bald Avenger? You have got to be joking. I have a full head of luxurious hair and a rank B fire affinity. Take me instead.
Silence, peasant! Only the one who restored the first king's fountain is worthy.
The messenger holds out a golden scroll. Taro finally rolls over, looking at the scroll with the same intensity one might look at a pile of laundry.
Is there a nap room in the capital, or at least some snacks?
I believe the royal palace has the finest feather beds in the Three Kingdoms, Taro, and they're currently very quiet, since everyone is too terrified to speak.
Taro's eyes flicker. Quiet. Beds.
Fine, but I'm bringing my own radishes. Traveling food is always too salty. I'll go, but only if Mira comes too. She needs to do all the talking and thinking parts. It's too much work for me.
Taro, you can't just volunteer me to be the brain of a suicide mission. I have laundry, I have a garden. I have a reputation for not being killed by ancient blights.
Gasps. Verily, a wise master knows when to delegate the trivialities of the mind, so he may focus on his transcendental aura. A thought shield and voice bearer for the legend.
The messenger scribbles furiously on a piece of parchment, heaving with the effort.
This is an outrage. A scandal, a violation of every noble protocol. I spent 12 years studying high arcane etiquette, and you're letting a peasant girl who specializes in watering lilies handle the diplomatic relations of the realm?
Exactly. She's good at it. She talks a lot. My ears usually hurt after 10 minutes. It's a perfect fit.
Mira's face turns a shade of red that rivals a ripe radish. Her hands shake as she grips her staff.
I am not a thought shield, you bald, lazy idiot. If I come, it's only because if I don't, you'll probably walk off a cliff because you were too bored to look at your feet.
A sensible arrangement. Mira's C-rank water magic is actually quite stable. It will provide a nice aesthetic to Tarot's more subtle interventions.
Suddenly, the temperature in the forest clearing drops. The cheerful bird song is replaced by a wet, scraping sound coming from the shadows of the woods behind Taro.
Hark! Do you feel that? The creeping chill? It is a fragment of the shadow blight. It has followed the trail of my horse.
A mass of oily purple-black smoke begins to coalesce between the trees, forming into the shape of a wolf-like creature with 3 glowing red eyes. It lets out a hollow, metallic growl.
Oh no, oh no, oh no. That's actual shadow magic. That's not a goblin. That's a nightmare. Gareth, do something.
I'll go. But only if Mira comes along to do all the talking and thinking parts. My brain is already at capacity just remembering to breathe.
Mira's face turns a shade of red that rivals Taro's sun-ripened radishes. She flails her arms, nearly hitting the royal messenger's helmet.
Taro, you idiot. I'm not a professional translator for a lazy farmer. You can't just outsource your entire destiny because you're too tired to use adjectives.
Verily, a stroke of tactical genius. The great sage understands that a weapon of mass destruction requires a diligent handler. Lady Mira, you shall be the voice of the soil.
This is a mockery of the royal court. I spent 6 years learning the etiquette of the high mages, and you're letting a girl who smells like pond water and a man with the charisma of a damp rock lead the defense?
Taro sighs, picking a piece of moss off his sleeve.
If I have to talk to a king, I'll probably just fall asleep mid-sentence. Mira is good at yelling. Kings need to be yelled at sometimes.
He isn't wrong, Gareth. The shadow blight is a consciousness-warping miasma. Perhaps Taro's lack of, well, visible consciousness is our greatest shield.
Then it is settled. To the royal carriage. We must fly like the wind, for the shadows grow long over the crown.
The group exits Green Valley Village. The carriage is obscenely plush, gilded with enough gold to buy Taro's farm 10 times over. Taro is sprawled across the velvet seats, his head dangling off the edge.
Taro, sit up. We're entering the Forbidden Pass. They say the Shadow Blight has already sent scouts here, monsters made of pure darkness that can't be hit by physical weapons.
Sounds like a lot of work to fight something that doesn't exist. Can you ask the shadow people to be quiet? The wheels are squeaking.
I'll show them. When the first shadow appears, I will unleash my solar flare of the righteous and prove who the real hero.
Suddenly, the carriage jerks to a violent halt. A thick, oily black mist begins to seep through the floorboards.
It's here, the Blight. Taro, do something. Reach for your inner power.
Taro groans, rolling over. His hand flops off the seat and accidentally knocks over a heavy crystal decanter.
Great. Now I'm sticky. This vacation sucks.
The purple liquid spills onto the floor. It reacts with the shadow blight, causing a series of high-pitched pops and fizzing sounds. The mist recoils as if burned by acid. Outside, a massive shadow beast lets out a confused shriek as it accidentally slips on the purple puddle leaking from the carriage door, tumbling straight off the cliffside.
Hark! The Bald Avenger purifies the demonic mist with a casual flick of his wrist. Such divine contempt for evil.
This silk thing is nearby. Might as well.
Taro reaches up with a groan, his fingers snagging an exquisitely embroidered silk curtain worth a year's harvest. With a sharp tug, the rod snaps, and the heavy fabric collapses over the sticky puddle of holy grape juice and the roiling purple mist.
Cleaning is such a hassle. Why is everything always damp?
He shuffles his feet, dragging the expensive silk across the carriage floor like a lazy janitor. As the fabric passes over the oily black shadow blight, the holy properties of the juice, soaked into the silk, act like a magnetic eraser. The shadows aren't just displaced, they are absorbed into the threads and neutralized with a series of tiny, satisfied pings.
Taro, you just mopped up a grade A cursed miasma with the Queen's favorite upholstery.
My eyes. He is using the sacred shroud of cleansing technique, but he didn't even chant, not a single syllable. Do you have any idea how many mana circuits you have to ignite to perform a high-level purification?
I don't know about circuits. I just don't want my socks to get purple.
Taro tosses the now blackened, smoking silk curtain out the window. It flutters through the air, accidentally landing directly over the face of a second shadow beast lurking in the trees, causing the creature to panic and run headfirst into a boulder.
Miraculous! The bald Avenger discards his holy relics once they have served their purpose. Verily, his humility is as vast as his scalp is smooth.
Through the carriage window, the jagged spires of the royal capital loom into view. They are encased in a shimmering, translucent dome of golden light, the legendary Aegis shield, currently flickering under the weight of a massive black cloud.
We're here. Taro, look. The capital is actually under siege.
The carriage thunders across a massive drawbridge, coming to a screeching halt in the middle of a courtyard filled with thousands of armored knights. The doors fly open. Next, on the bald lucky farmer, the bald savior,